I just finished talking to Coach Ellis, who's been phenomenal to me ever since I came into the league. And they told me on the radio that he's one win from tying John Wooden on the all-time win list, which is an unbelievable tribute to the body of work of his career and what he's done. So I have a lot of respect for him and his program. They are smash mouth. They're smash mouth. And I mean that in the most complimentary sense possible. And they just test your will in all facets of the game. On the glass, guarding, how hard they drive the ball. They got tough kids, and we knew that it was going to be a knockdown, drag out. But the good news is we have really, really tough kids too. We talk about this a lot, and I talked about it with our kids in the locker room. And I've said this in this setting as well, but that word and that name on our chest stands for a lot, and a lot of really good players, championship coaches, championship teams have made it mean something in games like today when it's our responsibility to sort of uphold that. And when our kids faced adversity, being down at half, allowing them to shoot a very, very high percentage in the first half, buckled down, held them to 31% in the second half against a very good offensive team. And I think that's a tribute to the toughness of our kids as well.
It seemed like tonight was a good night to have some depth because there was a lot of foul trouble on both sides. I think you guys kind of, at the end, almost like outlasted them a little bit.
Yeah, Brett, that's been part of our MO,
yeah.
Is that we are deep. And, a lot of guys, and the first one guy that comes to mind is a Josh Davenport, who I'm not even looking at the stat sheet, and I don't know how many minutes he played, but he was really big in the minutes he came in and played. He made some big plays. He was really, really good on the defensive end. If you look at the stat sheet, I think we had 4 guys in double figures.
Five
Guys in double figures. But that's who we are. There's no gaudy numbers on there. There's no 27, 28, 31. It's the sum of the parts that makes our team really good. It's the fact that we're pretty balanced in terms of scoring, and we can go pretty deep into our bench is what makes us a good team. And we're going to lean on that crutch for here on out, obviously. Hopefully find a way to get ourselves to the national tournament.
Yeah, and Larry was. I feel like the last month I've been saying he's had one of his best games. A couple times. He really, really was big tonight.
Yeah, it's the same thing we talked about. I don't know if it was the Campbell game or whatever, but it just ever since I feel like we're gaining steam. Did we play well on Saturday? No, a really good team beat us in their joint. But I just feel like we're playing with a lot of momentum, and I feel like since that started, Larry has been more consistent for us. He has, and I've said this before, there's not a lot of guys that have the capacity to be a difference maker on the defensive end, but he has that. He's always fighting that urge, and I talk about this all the time, to do a little bit too much or to gamble or to come out of the shell of our defensive principles. But he's wired that way a little bit. It's almost like that play he made late in the game where he stole the inbounds and laid the ball up, and that was a big nail in the coffin game. And that definitely wasn't within our defensive system. So it's one of those things where give it and take it away. Sometimes you got to kind of go with it a little bit and let a kid do what he does. And he made a big time basketball play, and I think that was one of the game clinching plays.
Coach, Joey talked in here a little bit ago about getting back to basics and how that was your big message after the Charleston Southern game. And you look at tonight, 22 of 27 from the line. You got 13 offensive boards. You talk about offensive boards in here all the time. How did you feel about the effort they put forth?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because we had about an hour and 40-minute film session. I don't know if it was an hour and 40, but it was close on Monday. And a lot of times as a coach, you want to keep it concise and take snippets of the whole. I said, no, we're going to show them everything. And I didn't care who was bored, who was yawning, we were going to watch everything. And then we went out and it was hand-to-hand combat on Monday. Now, I want to say this. Yesterday, probably the day before, the biggest game of the year for us. Coastal at home, playing for first place. I was on the road recruiting. I wasn't here yesterday. And what that is, and anybody that's printing something, recording something, please put this down. That's a tribute to the caliber of staff that I have. I have phenomenal coaches. I have guys that are all going to be head coaches. Brian Thornton, Mark Prosser, my associate head coach, Marty McGillen, those guys are really good. And they don't get enough credit. You know, I was an assistant for a long time, and a lot of times you're in the shadows. But for me to be able to say, I'm going recruiting the day before the biggest game, and for us to come out and adhere to the scouting report the way we did is a tribute to those guys and obviously to the maturity level and the leadership on our team.
And you got a double-double.
What's that?
Was Lopez? You got a double-double, didn't you?
I don't even know if I'm allowed to count.
Oh, right.
Am I? Wait, he signed. I'm
No,
nervous.
never mind.
I get nervous about it.
Never happened.
But he did something.
Yeah.
Did
He
he
did
sign?
something.
you're about to talk.
Yeah, he did a big time double.
16.
Coach, one more for you. You mentioned that this was a knockdown, drag-out game kind of game. Where does this rank in terms of tough games you've had this season?
It's a good question. I mean, you know, it's up there because that's what our opponent brings. They go at your chin, man. They go at your chin. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we're coming. And I said this, I think, when I was talking to Brett the other day. It just reminds me of when I was at Xavier when you're getting ready to play University of Cincinnati. They're going to try to, like, punch you in the mouth. Not literally, but figuratively. They're going to test your manhood. That's a tip of the cap and a tribute to the program that Coach Ellis has built and the toughness of his players. But like I said, we have tough kids, too, and that's what this program's about. So we knew that it was going to be that type of game, and you know our kids found a way to prevail. I do want to say this as well. Our students were off the charts. It's the best way I can describe it. They were phenomenal. There was a big possession late in the game, and I'm over there waving my hands like a madman. And they just collectively rose to their feet, and we're down there defending right in front of them, and you could just see it. It just injected energy and courage and toughness into our guys, and that's what a six-man does. That's what an atmosphere does, and that's why my staff, my players have worked so hard to make sure, and I say this all the time, our students know how important they are to us, to our program, to me, how much I care about them, and how much we need them. But man, they were great.